Hi, everybody. My name is Rob Abel. I'm from the IMS Global Learning Consortium, and welcome to our Learning Impact on Demand series. And we are here once again to explore the topic of effective digital teaching and learning. And it's particularly what we're experiencing in light of this accelerated movement to online, virtual, distance, remote education, all of the above in this age of COVID-19 and beyond. And we're hearing from some of the leading IMS members who are the smartest people on the planet when it comes to ed tech. Today, we are really fortunate to have with us a true innovator in the field for a leadership interview. We're pleased to have with us Dr. Charles Severance, clinical professor in the School of Information at the University of Michigan and also chair of the Sakai Project Management Committee. Welcome, Dr. Chuck.
Hey, Rob, thanks for having me on, and it's certainly an exciting time to talk about educational technology.
Yes, it's great to have you. Thank you so much. What we'd like to do here now for our audience is really share your insights from what you're seeing. It's an unprecedented time. We've had all sorts of attempts at digital learning, some probably done well, some perhaps not, kind of all across the spectrum. And we are pretty sure that the impact of COVID-19 will be with us for some time, and we'd love to hear your vantage point about what's happening now, what may happen in the future. So we're going to start with right now, so far. What have you seen? What do you think we're learning? What are your primary observations in terms of the impact of this scale up right now?
Well, the first thing I'll say is I'm amazed. I was amazed. The events that led up to sort of us going online for the last part of the winter-spring semester are burned into my mind. It started on a Wednesday. I remember what time certain things happened on that Wednesday. We closed Thursday and Friday, and we were to open up on Monday as a fully online operation. And it was, all I can say is it worked amazingly well. Meaning that very few of my colleagues were like, veering off the road or having problems. And I think to some degree, IMS, LTI, and such a diverse set of learning tools, and the fact that we have been increasingly using technology, whether it be auto-graders or recorded mini lectures or whatever, we've been using a lot of technology, not just the LMS, but the whole ecosystem of learning things. And so to go online in retrospect was kind of a smaller step than many of the other things that we've done with technology. And so the students were pretty happy. I would say that the technology was not the most important thing. What was most important thing was how to connect with students and give them a sense of safety and well-being in the classroom. And so one of the prerequisites to learning is a sense that this is a safe place to be. Because if you don't feel accepted, you can't then, if I can't make you or help you feel accepted as a student in my class, I can't tell you that, iteration variables have this, that, or the other attribute. And so if you're scared or you're nervous, then all the words that I say don't have any meaning. And so I'll say that for me and for a number of my colleagues, the first week and a half was really just rebuilding some sense of cohesion, some sense of community, some sense of togetherness in this online medium. And I thought that went pretty well. I mean, we're pretty lucky. We got students that all had technology. And I spent that first week mostly building community and talking to my teaching assistants, et cetera. And I thought that went pretty well. I would say that we kind of lost 1 week basically out of a 15-week semester. But I pretty much finished everything I wanted that I would normally finish in a normal semester. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, the immediate impact is we had been using a diverse set of technologies for a long time. And the fact that we just had to go online and cancel our face-to-face activities, it was a surprisingly smaller step than I had expected.
Mm-hmm. So it's really that human aspect, and the community building and sense of safety that was really kind of the most important thing to add into the mix, so to speak. How about coming back for the fall? We don't know exactly how that's going to work out, obviously. What do you anticipate might happen, or maybe additional effective practices to look at in time for the fall, depending on which way it might go?
Yeah, and at my school, we don't yet know. It's early June. We don't even know how it's going to turn out in the fall. There's so many factors that are going to happen over the summer. But what we're preparing for is a backup plan of fully online, right? I mean, the goal is, if we can do it, to not go fully online, but if we have to, we will go fully online. And for some students, we will give them the ability to go fully online. And what many people don't think about is that for some faculty, they need to go fully online too. So, and so the thing that's probably the most interesting, and the last time I saw an excitement about pedagogy was in 2012 at the beginning of the MOOC revolution. And so I think most of my colleagues say, you know, I could do this. I could just kind of use the things I've been using. But then they're talking to me like, I like doing studio classes. I like doing this. I like doing that. And are there ways that we can either find or build something that will allow me to do the pedagogy? Because in last semester, we found that, you know, we could establish community, establish all the norms, and 2/3 of the way through is when we got kicked to online. But now we got to start online. We got to do the whole thing online. Mm-hmm. So I see a lot of interest in building things over the summer that have never existed to meet new pedagogic requirements. And LTI, of course, is critical to that because, you know, you're not going to expect an LMS vendor who's just, you know, pedaling as fast as they can to keep the basic stuff working, which is great that they do that, but we're not going to find advanced pedagogy from our LMS vendors. And so LTI allows us to whip up a thing for one class and say, let's just try and experiment in this way of thinking. And so I think LTI will become more important. I think we're going to get away from saying, okay, we got these 12 LTI tools, and that's the set we're going to use. We slowly procure those. I think we're going to see a lot more agile using and building of LTI tools. And that, of course, comes with the advantages and disadvantages. And that just means that the pace at which we procure LTI tools is going to speed up, which means that the rigor with which we're going to analyze each of those procurements is going to be short-circuited, right? So a lot of, you know, in a normal situation, they would say, you can't touch that tool with a 10-foot pole unless they come and beg us for FERPA, and they worship us and do FERPA. And then the teachers go like, I need this or I can't teach. And then there's kind of like a back and forth, and we're reaching, I think, intelligent compromises about better tools while remaining committed to student privacy in a way that the IT people would just veto lots and lots of things in a normal situation, but the IT people can't veto those things because we're like, you know what? If you don't approve it, I'm just going to use it. Stop me, because I got to teach my class. And of course, I'm not speaking officially for my university. I'm just saying that the need to adopt technology and the ability to move slowly and deliberately and have 40 lawyers look at every single thing, we don't have the luxury of that. So I think it's going to be a fun and innovative time, much like the beginning in 2012 of the MOOCs, where we're just going to start trying things. And those things aren't going to be the things we tried before. And so I'm going to be busy all summer building things that don't yet exist. So one of the things I'll probably build over the summer is a competency-based, open source, competency-based testing system that takes pools of questions with competency markup and automatically generates competency tests so that we can do online competency tests, because we're afraid that some of our early classes may be too easy when done online. And so we're going to add a layer of competency tests over top of them. And we literally can't find software that does that, at least not the way we want to do it. And so I'm going to be building an open source competency test generator with random things and marking with competencies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that may or may not be useful outside its initial thing, but we have such very specific pedagogic requirements that kind of probably have to build it.
Well, that's very cool. And, you know, basically it sounds like what you're saying is that more and more faculty now, because of the situation, are thinking about how to innovate with technology, and the ability for the institution to be agile with respect to, supporting, those technologies is really, really critical. So that's actually very, very cool, very exciting. How about the lasting impact, further on down the line? Do you see more of the same? Do you think things are changed forever, or they're going to kind of come back to where they were? Or do you have any, or of course, nobody knows for sure, but what might be your thoughts about some of that?
So I think in the long run, and we're pretty lucky. We have these large faculty meetings on Zoom now, and they sort of seem chaotic on the surface, but in 2 hours or 1 hour of like brainstorming sessions, sometimes a couple of really good nuggets come out. And one of the things we've been talking about is how to record lectures. And I got a home studio with lights and a teleprompter and a whole bunch of stuff, and that's because I teach on Coursera. And everybody wanted to go buy that and replicate in a semi-professional studio in their house. And some people have already done that. But then someone said something about, how are we going to get this perfect in September? And it occurred to me that what's more important than delivering perfect with good lighting and good audio and all that stuff is the ability to iterate rapidly, and not to have invested so much in the first version of the course that you're teaching to not be able to iterate. And so what I think we're going to see, and this is something I've been doing for years now, and that's why I'm so successful teaching MOOCs, is an approach that thinks of teaching as an iteration, right? Not as like, oh, I want to teach this class and I'm never going to see it again. I just got to live through this next 15 weeks and I just got to make it as good as I can. But instead, hone the craft of teaching semester after semester after semester. So now we're trying to I'm trying to advise my colleagues to do things that are a little less technically daunting, but a little more aimed at iteration. And so what I hope, if I get to do the things I want to do the way I want to do them, is that fall will be a bunch of prototypes in a sense, right? A bunch of experiments, a bunch of new ideas, a bunch of things that no one's ever tried before. And then what we're going to do is like, half of that worked and half of it was just a pain in the neck. And what are we going to do next time? And so I think the lasting effect, at least for the next 2 to 5 years, is going to be a much more iterative view of what it takes to teach well online, rather than, oh, let's do an RFQ, take 5 years to pick an RFQ to do a video streaming server, and then 5 years later we've got it, and then we never talk about it again because it was so much. I'm talking about revision on weeks or months or semesters, but the idea of getting the lasting impact, I think, will be that iteration will become the norm, rather than this sense that we're creating this curated set of LMS plus 8 or 9 perfect LTI tools, and then we stop thinking about it. We're going to realize that, no, as we use these things, we're going to have to teach better. And so iteration and a general idea of long-term innovation in terms of teaching and learning technology.
Wow, that's very encouraging. Finally, I wanted to say thank you for being a leader in our nonprofit work here at IMS Global Learning Consortium. You and University of Michigan and Sakai. How might you describe the impact of the IMS work right now and going forward? Just a short answer, please.
So the first thing I would do is imagine what we would be facing with this without LTI. If instead of the past 15 years we build LTI, we're sitting with one learning management system and building blocks, and that was the only way to innovate. This would be a disaster. I mean, LTI is what made it possible to survive this. And so that's good. And I'm very proud of that. It was 15 years of my life to bring LTI together. But going forward, my concern is increasingly privacy. I mentioned that we're beginning to compromise, not so far terribly, but privacy seems to be in ways that seems to be the rate limiting factor for adopting new technologies. And that shouldn't be the case. I don't think that we should say, I want to adopt this technology and I got to throw privacy in the dumpster, right? I want to say, I want to adopt this technology and I want to do better with privacy than we've done before. And so I think the hard part going forward for IMS, and I think IMS is a great place to have this conversation, is how can we be even more diverse, even more innovative, even more rapid iterations, even more products in the market, and yet in a way that students, faculty, and IT leadership can be completely confident that learner privacy is under control. Because I think learner privacy is not under control right now. And so we made it so we could do all these things, but we also made it so it's leaking personal information to sometimes 20 or 30 different locations. And we really haven't thought through the tenure effect of leaking data for as long as that.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And thank you in general, Dr. Chuck, for your insights here. I know our viewers really appreciate it. And we thank the viewers for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you back here for more of our series on highly effective digital teaching and learning. This is Rob Abel saying bye for now, and let's keep the learning going.